If I told you to think of a British zombie movie, what would you think of first? Shaun of the Dead? Maybe 28 Days Later? Well, today we're talking about the British zombie film the world seems to have forgotten, Cockneys Vs Zombies. Today we'll ask the question of why the film faded into obscurity despite its star-studded British cast, amazing action, and gruesome gore. The film opens in London, but specifically East London. Whilst on a building site, two workers unearth a sealed tomb containing the living dead. As the infection spreads, we meet our two main characters, brothers Terry and Andy, who are planning to commit a bank robbery in order to use the money to save their grandfather's old folks' home from closing down, forcing him to move out of East London. Along the way to the robbery, they pick up a number of accomplices, including Mental Mickey, Davy Tuppence, and their very own cousin, Katie. During the robbery, things go awry and the police arrive. Retreating into the bank, they grab two hostages and attempt to make a break for it. However, when exiting the bank to make their escape, they discover the infection has spread all across London. Escaping to their base with two hostages, the group attempt to figure out what to do next. At the same time, Terry and Andy's grandfather Ray is attempting to survive the zombie plague while in the old folks' home. After Mental Mickey, goes a little mental after suffering a zombie bite, chaos ensues with a grenade being used to kill Mickey. After the explosion and subsequent confusion, one of the hostages picks up a shotgun, accidentally shooting Davy when attacked by zombies, killing both him and Davy. The group, along with the last remaining hostage, arm themselves with Mental Mickey's stash, hijack a bus and make their way to the old people's home, saving the group of pensioners and making it to the Thames and escaping on a boat. They watch over the burning city as the military flies in. So now you know the plot, let's explore what the film does well, where it stumbles, and why it never quite reached the height of other British horror media. Now, this cast is stacked if you're a Brit. If you're an American watching this, and statistically most of you are, you probably have no idea who some of these people are. So let's go down the list of some of the most noteworthy examples. For our main group of bank robbers, Andy is played by Harry Treadaway, who you may know from the Stephen King series Mr. Mercedes, which we previously covered in another video. Kathy is played by Michelle Ryan, who was previously on another London bus in Doctor Who. Davy Tuppence is played by Jack Doolan, who played a prominent role in season 3 of The Boys as one half of the TNT twins. Other noteworthy examples include Ray, played by Alan Ford, who was famous for his iconic roles in Snatch as well as Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. As for our two hostages, Emma is played by Georgia King, who has gone on to have a very impressive career in comedy, working on everything from Rick and Morty to Star Trek Lower Decks and a recurring role in Vice Principals. Our second hostage, Clive, is played by Tony Gardner, and while he has had a very impressive career, if you grew up in the 2000s like me, you'll remember him from the iconic kids show My Parents Are Aliens. The film also features an insane cameo from Dexter Fletcher, who directed films like Rocketman and Eddie the Eagle. With a cast of so many talented people, I can't even mention them all, the performances in this film are great. The comedy lands, moments of loss are played with a surprising amount of heart, and every character is incredibly memorable. The relationship and chemistry between the brothers Terry and Andy is great. While they don't look all that similar, their dynamic is just so entertaining to watch, and they are so fun in scenes together. Rasmus Hardiker, who plays Terry, is especially fun to watch. He's able to deliver some of the funniest lines in the movie. Alan Ford is amazing as Ray. While he is basically playing the same role he's most known for, he's still a joy to watch on screen. The other members of the retirement home are also incredibly memorable, with unique personalities and some great performances. The film also takes great advantage of the setting and characters of the old folks' home, such as the scene where one member of the group is being chased by the zombies and is barely getting away on his Zimmer frame, resulting in a very, very slow chase. Or when one of the characters gets bitten on the leg just to reveal it's a prosthetic. The film also has some great zombie moments. Just a minor rant from someone who watches a lot of zombie movies, the diversity of the different zombies is fantastic. Oftentimes with zombie films, not much thought is put into what a zombie wears, and they're often dressed in generic bloody clothing, making them blend into one another. I have always loved when a film goes out of its way to give a zombie a uniform or clothing that tells a story or just adds a little something that makes the world feel a little more alive. You've also got some great zombie gore and kills in this, from explosions to wirework to a baby zombie being kicked into a billboard. The film also features some incredible needle drops, which I sadly cannot play lest YouTube nukes this video, but trust me, they're great. However, there is a reason this film isn't held in high regard by some, so let's talk about it. First and foremost, this is not only a very British film, it is specifically a very East London film. East London has historically been a very working class section of London, famous for Cockneys, and in an attempt to honour this, the film uses an egregious amount of Cockney rhyming slang. For those unaware, Cockney rhyming slang originates all the way back to the 1840s as a way for people in East London to talk amongst each other in coded messages in order to hide what they were talking about from police or unwanted eavesdroppers. An easy example to give you is when referring to stairs, someone might instead say apples and pears. Now, as someone who grew up in southeast London, even I had trouble with some of the phrases used in this film, which I could only imagine would be a tad alienating for anyone outside the UK watching. The use of rhyming slang doesn't really serve the film bar a single joke or two, which even then don't really land in my opinion. The film also features a fair bit of British culture. Some of those really work. A personal favourite are two groups of zombie football hooligans who, even while dead, still have a bitter rivalry. It's a genuinely really funny bit and feels very authentically British. On the other end of the spectrum, during the third act, a London red bus is used briefly and they don't really do much with it that's noteworthy, unique, or even a clever spin on the iconic bit of London imagery. If you compare this to 28 Days Later, which also features an even shorter sequence involving a turned over red bus for maybe 3 or 4 shots, that sequence is far more impactful than the multiple scenes we get in this film. What I find really hampers this film is its failure to deconstruct the two genres it's balancing. The film doesn't do much to examine the zombie genre. There is no spin on any popular tropes. The characters in the film are aware of zombies and even the rules that surround them, such as shooting them in the head or that bites lead to an infection, but the film doesn't do anything with it. There's no point in the film where someone is killed due to a character believing something they saw in a film. It is simply used as a way to fast track the character's understanding of their current situation. When it comes to the gritty London crime genre the film takes inspiration from, the most that is done is a homage to a scene in Snatch, both involving a Spaz 12 shotgun. And the film leans heavily on the casting of noteworthy actors who have previously appeared in popular London crime genre films, but bar a couple references, nothing is examined, there is no tropes turned on their head, and the film just doesn't seem to have much to say about the genre. Now, if you compare this to a film like Shaun of the Dead, which parodies and deconstructs both the British rom-com and the classic zombie film, numerous moments in the film are parodied, turned on their head, and deconstructed. It's in my opinion that this is why a film like Shaun of the Dead works, as it has something to say about the genre, whilst Cockneys Vs Zombies simply references its genres and doesn't really make any reference to any popular zombie media, at least none that I caught. There's even a whole section of the film where it feels like everyone is sort of twiddling their thumbs, waiting for something to happen. Between the bank robbery and the rescue of the old folks' home, the film comes to a grinding halt and just becomes another generic zombie movie. I think the failure to deconstruct the parodied genres and having a lack of anything to say really harmed the film's staying power in the eyes of the general public. Additionally, with the use of Cockney rhyming slang, specific London references, and being about zombies, the film in turn has a very limited audience appeal. I also believe the title, Cockneys Vs Zombies, just makes the film sound incredibly silly, cheap, and shallow. I think the real issue was its timing. Being released in 2012, we were coming in at the tail end of the hyperfixation of zombies in pop culture. With Shaun of the Dead and 28 Days Later having released years earlier, it had been proven the world was receptive to a straight British horror film about zombies or a parody of the genre. However, by the release of Cockneys Vs Zombies, interest was waning due to the insane amount of zombie media being released, and with shows like The Walking Dead, there was a high standard in zombie media which the film didn't meet at the time. I think making a zombie film is a difficult task, as on the surface it can be seen as a fun, cool genre to fill 90 minutes of horror, but I'd argue that the zombie genre is something of a Trojan horse where it's often used as an excuse to examine complex or interesting themes with a fun backdrop. Dawn of the Dead is not just a film about people living in a mall, it's a film that raises questions of consumerism and what it means to rebuild society and what we place value on. Train to Busan is a great zombie movie that examines what a father is willing to do for their child and what he should or should not sacrifice. Pontypool examines how the spread of fake news and misinformation can create a dangerous and violent group which don't think for themselves, and The Battery is a film that explores the dynamic between two friends who have differing philosophies on life and how it's driven them apart. There are so many avenues you can take a zombie movie to make a commentary on real life that when left unused, it results in a film feeling shallow. If you take away the zombies in Cockneys Vs Zombies, the only item left to talk about is a vague notion of gentrification. This could have been a really interesting theme to explore, as it's more relevant than ever, especially in London, and there is a very real notion of Cockneys being forced out of London due to increasing prices and new developments. The film examines this on a very minor surface level, but doesn't commit to examining the topic in a deeper context. All in all, I would still recommend Cockneys vs Zombies. I think it still has some great moments within the film, some fantastic performances, and is overall just very fun to watch. Have you seen the film? What did you think of it? Let me know down below. Additionally, if you're a fan of British zombie movies, we've made a video following the crazy journey of how 28 Days Later was made, so click the link on your screen right now. I've been Montgomery, this has been bloody good, and thank you so much for watching.